Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays.
Rebel soul child got a fist ball, I'm a respawn of ancestors, and I'm blessed, They are not him, tell him fess up, I get check stub, hella carefree, nothing scares me, hella reckless, yeah, I got next up, right, now we not the same, cause see when I look in your iris, you likely to talk but not ready to ride, you do better keeping it quiet, my pen is ignited, my soul is enlightened, I like who I am, but I'm biased, the palette is right, my drip is a fountain, I'm not like these regular guys, all of that talk is misguided, she like the way I make the tape print, but the way I make the words play is grim, I'm the reaper reaching for the kill switch, the label cut the check like the blazesman, something sparking where his brain is, the beat is somewhere where their prayers in, Geronimo the way I make the bass jump when no parachute is tasting.
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on?
People, this is Throwing Hands. We got John and my Jane. How you doing, my guy?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm excited. I'm excited to get another episode in. Simming off our last one. Now we got an exciting fighter that's ready to tear it up in rough 50 here with us. So I'm excited for this show. How you doing, Josh?
I'm doing good, man. I won't lie. I only slept 4 hours in the past 2 days, but I'm feeling good. I've been getting a lot of weight off too.
I was just gonna say weight cut check. What we looking like?
160.4, boy.
Oh man, you shedding them off, man. You shedding them off.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah.
Well,
I was at 167.6 this morning, and then after the gym, I only had probably like one meal before working out, and I just lost like 3 pounds.
see, well, so what week are we in?
I think this is week 4, honestly. Week 4 in this weight cut. Yeah.
Before. You see anything difference? Any difference between the weeks that you've been dealing with? Anything has gotten harder? Anything that you've noticed in your body change?
My energy levels, especially. I've always been used to eating junk food, just whatever I want, just literally whatever I want. Now that I've switched up my literally all I eat spinach, avocado, I eat chicken, tuna. That's pretty much it. And it's when I go back to eating junk food, my energy levels drop, and I feel like shit. That's the difference.
Okay. So 4 weeks in, this is where we're at, guys. So the guys have been following. So 4 weeks in, we're at 160 point. You said what was the weight?
164. And I set up this weight at 176, 177.
Okay, so you started at 176, 177. You said 164 we're at right now. So we shedded 13 pounds in 4 weeks. He's noticed his energy levels difference change. And he's working his ass off in the gym. And higher energy levels. So no, it's going good. It sounds like it's going good to me.
Yeah, I'm impressed with all this. I've been just like, bro, I lost my train of thought, but that's mostly because how tired I am. Like, I got done with boxing. I was literally doing rounds of shadow boxing with weights, pad work, bag work, did like 50 sit-ups. After like everything, I was already 2 hours. But yeah, I'm glad I'm getting the work I'm in now.
Yeah, no, it sounds like you're doing it, and like you said, you were trying to go through it to gain the experience, to see what it's like to go through it, and that's what we want to monitor. Me personally, I'm gonna monitor it every week, but I just want to see, what you're noticing in your own body, what's changing there as you go through it for the first time. But I think this would be a good time to bring on our guest.
Yes, sir. He's also at the gym putting in that work too. We got our boy Andres Ponce, the Punisher, making his return for rough 50.
Hey, how's it going,
man?
What's
guys?
going on, my guy?
How's it going? Thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate it.
We appreciate you coming on. We really do. So, hey. So, leading up to rough 50, when's the last time you were in the cage with rough? Just for the fans that don't know.
Oh man, it's been a little bit of time. The last time, I want to say it was definitely before the pandemic. So I want to say I was still drinking. So it was I want to say 2018, if I'm not mistaken. Oops, sorry, I'm slipping over there. There you go.
2018.
I believe 2018. Yeah, it was the last time. 17 or 18 was the last time I was in a rough cage. In Maricopa,
Okay.
outside, in a like right by this like lake and stuff. It was pretty cool.
So Ruff's come a long way since then. I know, for the newer Ruff crowd, we're gonna be happy to see you in there. This will be my first time being able to see you in person, so I know I'm happy to see you and excited to see you come in. So we're talking about Josh's weight cut. So Josh is on a weight cut journey. So you've done this plenty of times, many times. What is there anything that you make sure? Do you have a regiment now that you do that going into it, or when do you actually get going on your weight cut?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So if you had asked me this question, 4 or 5 years ago, it would have been, oh yeah, I cut for 4 to 6 to 8 weeks, depending on the severity of the fight, how much notice I have. And then, obviously with my old habits, it was a lot of cheating in between with food and stuff like that. So I used to struggle with weight, actually. Anybody that knows me would tell you, if you look at my record, you'll see a lot of weight misses earlier in my career. Towards like the, not like this right there in the beginning, but like when I was like 4 or 5 fights deep, I went through some personal stuff in my life, and the drinking got pretty bad, and so my career was kind of up and down after World Series of fighting. So pretty much, I made a lot of changes over the last few years. Stopped drinking, almost 3 years now. So pretty much, I'm always eating pretty clean, pretty healthy. I'll splurge a little bit here and there, maybe once a week. But for the most part, even when I cheat, it's not too bad. I'll try to get some Chipotle or something like that. But outside of that, I eat
Chipotle
pretty.
is always the one. Chipotle is
Yeah,
always
that's the spot. It's gotten me sick before, and I still come back to it. So, but yeah, so for the most part, man, I eat pretty clean year round. I stay healthy. I'm in the gym 2-3 times a day. And that's really it. So the last weight cut that I had, it was my first time going back to 35s in a lot of years, and I hadn't made 35s probably in like over 4 or 5 years. So when I actually ended up going onto this fight, I ended up deciding to go to 35 because I was like walking around at like 150, 155 because of how much I was training, how clean I was eating. So I was like, wow, I don't need to actually like go into these crazy like camps and diets and stuff like that because I'm eating clean for the most part all year round. I'm actually fighting at 45 this fight, and I'm eating substantially more just to have like extra weight on me because of how fast I lose the weight.
Wow.
So it's a blessing right now for that, because I don't really struggle too much with weight. The 35 cut wasn't bad up until like maybe the hour before, because I woke up, did some stuff, ate a little bit. I ate up until like the morning of my fight, my last weight cut. So I was relaxing, I don't, like I said, don't stress too much. Just try to eat clean all year round. Now my mindset is if I stay ready, I don't got to get ready.
Yeah, exactly. And let me ask you this. How long have you been fighting? Because you're pro now. You've gone already through so many battles. And you said that the last time you fought in rough was back in 2017, 2018. What kind of got you into this, and how long you been going?
Yeah. So when I got out of the military, I was in the Navy for like 4 years or so. I got out a little early. They were like, "Hey, the military's downsizing. You want to get out?" I was already home for reserve for a little bit, and I was like, "Yeah, this sounds like a pretty good idea." I got used to civilian life again and stuff, so I ended up getting out a little early, and then I didn't really do much right after. I was just kind of lounging around the house with my ex-girlfriend or my girlfriend at that time, and we lived together, and I didn't really know what to do. So everybody said, "Hey, don't jump into work right away." So I actually did the opposite and jumped into work right away, worked for a gym, didn't like it. So I quit 2 weeks after, and then I took a break. And then I ended up, my buddy trained at a gym here locally. It's a pretty popular gym, Arizona Combat Sports. And I went in there, and that's where I actually trained for the first 6 months or so. And I fell in love with it within the first, like, I think week. They were asking me to train with the pro team just because I had a pretty high level wrestling. I wrestled in the Navy a little bit, and I wrestled throughout, high school, and I was a high school All-American, Mexican All-American, or Mexican American All-American, whatever the way you would say it. So I won some pretty cool little things, throughout high school. Nothing like college NCAA champion or anything like that. But I had a pretty good high level knowledge of wrestling in high school, and then going into the Navy, wrestled on a base team. So yeah, sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent there from the question.
No, you're good. You're good. And did you? It cut out for a second. Did you say AZ Combat Sports?
Yes. Sorry. So I was at AZ Combat Sports for about 6 months, and then
Okay.
transitioned, went to another gym that ended up closing down after that. And then I was with Fight Ready for quite a while, and then due to a lot of my old bad habits, drinking, missing weight, stuff like that, unfortunately, I ended up having to part ways with the team, and then kind of went off on a journey for a little while, and then there was a time where I had to kind of figure out really what I wanted to do, what changes I was going to make in my life, and that's really how it started. But yeah, I was at AZ Combat for 6 months. Within a week, I was. The funny thing is, I was brought me in with the pros, but I had to wrestle with them, and I was actually keeping up with them in the grappling aspect of it as far as wrestling went. But when they
Nice.
put me in there and they went with the striking, I was getting my ass beat pretty bad. So it's kind of funny. But yeah, that's kind of how the journey started. Within the first week of the gym, I knew I was like, okay, this is definitely something that I think I'm going to do for quite a while, because I thought I was going to be in the military for the rest of my life, and that ended up not working out.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, So actually not unfortunately, very fortunately that didn't work out, So
Yeah. It's
I know.
ironic too, because actually I train every so often out of AZ Combat Sports. That's actually the first I started training out in Tempe.
Oh, nice, awesome.
Nice.
Trevor
No,
comes into the gym sometimes with Tyrell to spar with the bigger guys with Waldo and stuff. So
Yeah.
Now I know you said that you kind of started just getting in the gym, just kind of getting your feet wet and everything, and kind of went from there. But was there something growing up? Was there something like, what was it that kind of clicked that said like, this is what I'm gonna do, or what pushed you back around to it?
if I'm being honest, I would give you like so many different cheesy answers, right? Like I was bullied, I was this, I was that, right? But honestly, man, like I used to actually not know, and I used to give a lot of those generic answers. And recently, over the last year or so, I think I really kind of found the reason for it. And more than anything, I grew up just being, my dad loved fighting. So when I would go visit my dad, my parents were separated. When I go and be with my dad, he's always watching boxing, like hardcore, diehard boxing fan, but not too much in an MMA until I got older in high school. But the main reason was just because I was insecure. I was small, I was skinny. I didn't get picked on, but I don't think that was necessarily the reason. Because even when I kind of learned how to fight, I still got bullied, which is kind of funny because I learned how to wrestle, and I wrestled in high school and stuff like that, and I was pretty good. I still got bullied and picked on by people, but it was just insecurities. I thought it made me feel like a man, or I was tougher, in a sense. And then eventually I hit a point where I realized, I was like, oh shit, I know how to fight. Other people don't. I not only know how to wrestle now, I know how to fight now. So there's kind of a point in my life where I kind of became a bully, and I was bullied, but I also bullied other people in a way, which is kind of, with the place that I went to and the schools that I went to, that was kind of like looked frowned upon. It wasn't like I grew up in the hood or anything like that for most of my life. I didn't grow up with a lot of money, but my mom did try to put me in better schools. So I would always go to like these schools that had, a lot more money than the schools where we actually lived. So a lot of these kids, they didn't like violence, aggression, losing your temper, shit like that wasn't like common. And I grew up in a lot of dysfunction and stuff like that. So for me, that was like, I thought that shit was cool. I grew up, my uncle's fighting, fucking getting in street fights and stuff like that. I was a pussy. I like the idea of that stuff, but I wasn't that guy. I would talk shit and do all that. I was a shit talker. I've always been that. But that just all developed through my insecurities. And I think something inside of me I think God kind of put me in that path for a reason, just because like I ended up like just realizing that it's something that I want to do for the rest of my life. And I'm 29 years old, and here I am. I know I got to about 34, 35, so I'm gonna fucking ride this bitch till the wheels fall off.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. And so let me ask you this. When you first started this journey on figuring out why you want to become a fighter, and when you really started getting into it, was there any other fighters that you kind of looked up to out of inspiration?
Yeah, there was a few fighters. It's funny enough, I kind of, as my career progressed and my knowledge and MMA evolved, I had like eras of different people that I really liked. And it's funny enough, when I first started fighting, I kind of would like adopt their styles and like, oh, I really like this fighter. And like, it's funny because like, that's like every early stage fighter is that they try to like adopt not just the fighting style, they try to kind of adopt the personalities a little bit. So I would kind of bounce around trying to figure out who I was as a fighter in a lot of aspects because I didn't know, and I was just young and dumb. So sorry, I got off track. What was the question again?
Was there any like specific fighters that kind of
Yeah.
inspired you or helped motivate you to do it?
So I would say early on, it was like I was watching obviously like Brock Lesnar when he was, first trying to fight for the title. Dominic Cruz in the WEC days. Jose Aldo's probably was like the first fighter that I was like, oh my gosh, I really try to emulate his style and like his movement, and like that was the first really fighter that I like really liked. But and then as time went on, I really got into like Conor McGregor and just like that kind of movement and that style. So just throughout time, there was a lot of guys like that. Cub Swanson is a big favorite of mine. He was actually a buddy. I trained out with him a little bit up in Palm Springs. Or
Nice.
Jim's actually in Indio, but he lives in Palm Springs. But my dad lives in Palm Springs too, so I went out there and like started a camp one time. So Cub Swanson was a big inspiration. His style, that movement. I'm trying to think. There's a ton of fighters. I got Efren Escudero right here, right now. From Ultimate Fighter. I think Tough. I forgot which one he won. Javier, our head coach. Chimmy. I forgot Chimmy's last name, but he was Ultimate Fighter runner-up. So I got a lot of inspiration, a lot of guys that I really like and look up to. Now as I'm older, I don't really have too many people that I latch on to. I like everybody. I like certain guys and certain things that I pick up on. But I think I've really now adopted my own style, and really my favorite fighter is probably me right now.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta have that confidence, especially getting in the octagon like that. I mean,
Yeah.
With that being said, I know you said that you wrestled in high school. Getting into that cage, like you said when you went to that gym, like, hey man, I was dominating on the mat. But when we got into this to the octagon and then went free fall, it was different. So, is there a particular style of fighting that you say is just something that you just have to have as a fighter? Just whether it's kickboxing, whether it's Brazilian jiu-jitsu, there's something that you just picked up along the way that you're just like, man, this has to be a staple.
Yeah, I would say honestly wrestling, because wrestling made me. Wrestling is so fucking dominant in MMA. Excuse my language. That it almost, for a lot of wrestlers getting into the sport, it almost like creates this like weird confidence and this weird like what's the word I'm trying to use? It's like it creates almost like a false sense sometimes. Like for me, I was so dominant, like I was such a good wrestler coming into MMA that like for me when I was fighting, I was like my first few fights as an amateur, I think I won by knockout because I was picking dudes up and just slamming them on their head. As soon as they started throwing punches, I said, screw this, pick them up, boom, So,
Right.
and like for me, I'm like, I beat Juan Archuleta my first pro fight. Like, if I could explain to you like the level of knowledge, the knowledge of jiu-jitsu I did not have at that point in time, and the fact that I was able to do that, like in the amount of like the fact that how much jiu-jitsu I knew now because I've actually like studied the art. I went in there, I trained in the gi, I actually go to an actual jiu-jitsu school. It's night and day, So like it created like a false sense of like oh shit, like I don't like MMA jiu-jitsu is all I need, and that's like one thing I would tell any young up and coming MMA fighter: get yourself going to an actual jiu-jitsu class a few days, at least 3 days a week, and try to compete in local tournaments and stuff like that. But have a wrestling foundation. Wrestle. If you have wrestling, do it at least once a week, right? Continue doing it, keeping your that shit in your back pot, in your toolbox. And if your gym's not doing it wrestling once a week, then you probably should look at getting to a different gym or going to a school that offers wrestling. But if you're not a wrestler and you don't have a foundation and you're getting an MMA, you need to be doing wrestling at least 2 or 3 days a week, minimum. Because you have a lot of catching up to do just to be able to keep up with dudes that actually do have that wrestling. I think my wrestling got me a long way. Juan Archuleta was a D1 All-American. He wrestled fucked me so hard the first round. Like I was getting my ass beat. But you guys watch the fight; it's on YouTube. It was my pro debut for World Series of Fighting. He was 5-0. I was 0-0. was like 9-4 or 8-4 as an amateur or something like that. And in the second round, I threw a high kick. He caught it, like he ate it and he caught it. And we came to the mat and I put it in the triangle and I locked it up. And you know, that obviously he went on like a 25 fight win streak after that. And my career was up and down, but that's neither here nor there. But like I said, the idea was that like his wrestling was so, like, I thought my wrestling was so good, but then what happened was I got against a better wrestler, and then the little bit of jiu-jitsu that I did have, because I was better than Juan's obviously, because all Juan had was pure D1 wrestling. I at least did a little bit of MMA wrestling and jiu-jitsu, but I knew at that time Juan didn't really study jiu-jitsu, so that gave him a false sense of security and hope there. And then when I started getting in the ring with black belts and dudes that really knew how to like choke motherfuckers, like wrestlers that are patient, and you think you're picking a dude up and you're like, oh yeah, I got him now. And you got a dude that's like, yeah, go ahead and pick me up. He's like, let me lock in this front choke real quick, So I had to play a different game. So like I wrestle heavy still, but I do a lot of jujitsu with my MMA now because of that. And you look at my record. My last fucking fight, I lost to a black belt. He was a European Pan Am's champion. So the guys I lose to really aren't like slouches. I take, unfortunately, I take big risks sometimes, but
Name of the game, right?
Yeah, wrestling. Though, if I had obviously to answer your question, going on tangent again, wrestling is probably the foundation. But don't let it give you a false sense of security. You need jiu-jitsu. You need all the other aspects of your game, and especially when it comes to the ground. Like a lot of guys can get by very far in their careers with just solid wrestling and solid jiu-jitsu. But yeah, wrestling.
We talk about it so many times, me and Josh on the show. When we talk about Bellator or we talk about UFC, and when you get in those higher ranks, how much having that base with wrestling means, because you can kind of get by, with just a wrestling base sometimes when you get into those scrambling moments and you got to save face real quick because you got shook. That wrestling goes a long way.
Yeah. And the way that you're going to feel after a scramble, like you're going to get tired, right? People get tired. That's why we do cardio, sprints, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, like when you start fatiguing and you're in those hard ass fights and you get in those scrambles and those exchanges, you're conditioned for that. You're doing that once, twice, 3 times a week, so like that wrestling is the only thing I would say that like can match the intensity of a fight. And you're doing that for 2, 3, 4 minutes at a time while you're doing takedowns, rounds, grappling, scrambles, stuff like that. So when you get in a firefight, don't get me wrong, some fights are slow paced or boring, but for the most part, like when you get in a scrap, like that's the closest you can match that type of intensity. So if you're constantly being able to match that intensity of wrestling in the room, in a wrestling room, multiple times a week, when you go into a cage and you go into a fight, when you get in those scrambles and your opponent's not putting in that kind of work, those kinds of scrambles, those kinds of rounds, it's going to feel fucking different when that adrenaline dump hits and you get out of those scrambles. They're going to be breathing heavy and you're going to be right there. You're going to be right in their fucking face still.
Yeah, exactly. That was something I actually noticed because we've had another amateur fighter on. His name is Devin Ray, and he's local boy in my town. And so we went there and I did some wrestling with him, and you could tell the difference between somebody who, like me, it's always been kind of on and off with people that I've known that's wrestled, versus Devin, who has an extensive wrestling background. And when you get into that nitty gritty, it's like really you're gasping for breath. The level difference is just astronomical.
Yeah, no, it really is. And then it's like, the difference between really good wrestlers, it's like my jiu-jitsu school is starting to do a lot more wrestling, and so we do it a couple days a week. But the one thing they're learning now, it's like they're getting better. So like now I used to just be able to shoot on most jiu-jitsu guys. I could shoot in one hard takedown, one snatch single, and I'm taking them down. As you develop and you get better, you have to start chaining that. It's not just a single leg. Now you single leg, drag, turn to a double leg. They defend that. You come back to the single, inside trip, outside trip. You got a lot of different stuff with your over, unders. Like it's you can start getting really, really, more in depth with it. But as long as you can, I tell most guys, as long as you can do 1 to 3 exchanges, you can beat most people in wrestling. If you can scramble or go for like I said, you shoot in, they defend it, you go again, they defend it, you go again. Most likely you're going to get it on that third time. Most people don't have that grit or that will. And if they do, by the time they get up, they're going to be exhausted just trying to defend those takedowns.
And we've been talking too is as the sport is growing and more people are getting involved, and there's more and more gyms out here that are providing places for these younger guys to get in earlier and grow. You're starting to see more well-rounded fighters. And like like you said, there's wrestling and then there's MMA wrestling. There's really getting in the gym and doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and there's I know enough to do my thing. But as you get up higher in these ranks, you have to be an all-around fighter, and you have to have a strong, like you said, wrestling base. And nowadays, you really need both. You really do need a strong Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu base and a strong wrestling base as you get higher in the rankings.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah, I mean, like the perfect example I think is that like combat sambo that Khabib is famously known for. It's the perfect combination of like the amount of wrestling to striking, and that's kind of really like the way I kind of base my style more based off now. It's that top control, that top pressure, being able to pass the guard, trap the legs, pinning positions, being patient but aggressive at the same time. It's an aggressive patience, It's the
Like
what is
Izzy.
it? The smash, the smash style. You got to be, it's a ruthless like a fucking python. You're just everything you do is calculated,
precise. Yep,
Yeah,
precise.
it's really aggressive chess almost.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, it's like the upcoming fight with Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev. You have Charles Oliveira, the elite of elite, who's a master in jiu-jitsu, and then you have Islam coming from combat sambo with Khabib, and just the extensive wrestling. It just shows that in the sport of MMA, the more that you progress and the higher of the ladder that you climb, the more of the demand for the wrestling jiu-jitsu background, especially to really complete yourself as an all-around fighter.
Yeah. On the contrary, you also do see like some guys that get into it, and they get babied in the sport. They get a little bit of fights early, so they never really experience and I'm talking about wrestlers now. They don't experience that real like person that can defend the takedowns or the guy that's going to keep getting up. There's dudes that'll just like you can take them down, but they'll get up fucking 50 times every single round for 15 minutes, And then you get those guys that like they're supposed to be phenoms or they're supposed to be the next big thing, and they fucking go in there, and no matter how much cardio they do, they wrestle, and then as soon as they get fucking defended a few times, if the guy gets up, their gas tank just boom. And I don't even really think it's a gas tank, man. A lot of people say, oh, their gas tank just got shot or whatever. I think it's like
it's will.
Your will. It's demoralizing. You take somebody down. But if you're in the gym wrestling 2-3 times a week and you're fucking picking motherfuckers up and putting them down for an hour and a half at a time at practice, you think that you fucking care? No, I'm winning the fight, right? I'm picking you up and dropping you on your head over and over and over again. But some guys, they don't train like that. They don't prepare for that, So they think, 1, 3, couple 2-minute rounds here and there, and then as soon as they get a guy that's not going to let them take them down, and they're not that good of a striker, or they're they're a good striker, but maybe the other guy they're fighting is a much more aggressive, stronger, more powerful striker. Then they're putting themselves in now they're in a place the world they really don't understand. They might think they understand it when they're out in the mats and they practice, they try shit and do shit, but when you're in a match against a motherfucker that you don't know you're not used to his patterns, you're not used to how he moves, you may have watched a little bit of tape, but now your brain starts thinking, your brain starts moving, so it's it really affects you a lot more than people realize.
Well, you throw in a 40 get ups and then some jabs and some leg kicks, and that's where that will that you were referring to comes in, because like you said, cardio wise, it may not even really be cardio, and a lot of times you see guys gasping. It's not really just the cardio they're gasping for. They're just really, like you said, they're demoralized. They're like, what the hell do I do next? And that's the part I see a lot of times where we do see people end up getting choked out. We do see people end up giving up their backs. That's when I see that part come out.
Because it's like, and I know because I've been there. It's like it's you're at the end of the day, it's like what you train is what's going to happen, right? If you're training to constantly take somebody down and not constantly give up, and you're like, it doesn't matter how many times they get up, I'm going to constantly put them back the fuck down to the mat, you're going to do that. But if your brain isn't wired to do that, and you're in there and you're used to like, oh, we do a couple minutes, we stop, couple minutes, we stop. Your brain, as soon as you do that and then shit doesn't go your way, your mind all of a sudden realizes like, okay, this isn't what we train. This isn't not what I'm used to. So then your brain either starts to wander, you start either trying to find a way out. If you're not a guy that finds a way out, your brain starts trying to think about other things. You start panicking. Versus like a dog, you think about the same thing, right? That's why guys that are in here, we're in here training the same fucking shit over and over. We're doing the same kind of rounds over and over. I wrestle 3 times a week. I'm a competent wrestler, and I wrestle 3 times a week. So 2 to 3 times a week. So it's because I know that if that happens in a fight, or if it ever comes down to it, that I can continuously go repeat that shit over and over for not just 15 minutes, 25 minutes. So that's it's a different confidence when you have that kind of cardio and going into a fight.
Right.
It's not just cardio anymore at that point. It's a whole level of like, it's like I said, it's a dog. Once a dog sees fucking rabbit and it starts chasing it, you can't tell your dog to come back. It's what I mean. It's fucking locked in. It's set up. Although we got Waldo Cortez right here, just won the Ultimate Fight Contender Series. Yeah.
Hey, congrats, man.
You know if they got any bandage?
I don't. You have to ask.
See, this is why we like the gym ones, Andres.
Yeah. Yeah, there's all kinds
Why
of
we
people
enjoy those ones,
Yeah, but sorry to get off track. But
nah, you're good,
yeah,
man.
so it's the same thing, man. Like we're fucking animals, right? We're just civilized animals. So you come in here and you're set to do one thing, and then all of a sudden, what happens when a dog's defeated, right? Like once it tucks its tail between its legs, and that's essentially what a human does when things don't go its way.
It's just like you hear a lot of times when guys get their first championship fight, and then they come out and they're like, man, I never trained for 5 rounds. I never trained for that.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing as what you're saying. Your body reaches that limit, your mind reaches that limit, and you start to just panic. But again, that's why they call it the championship rounds. So now I do want to ask, because we're talking about inspiration and all that good stuff. The Punisher. What's behind the Punisher? Where did that come from? What inspired you to do it? And it's stuck with you now. So where does that come from?
So that's a good question. I actually, when my first fight for Rough, I thought I didn't know, I didn't have a nickname. I didn't know what to do. I was like, what do I call myself? I was like, oh shit. Like I was a dork about it, right? Like instead of just going out there as Andres Ponce, I was like, oh, I have to have a name. Like I can't not. And then of course the cliche, like it has to be a P. So originally my fight name was Andres Pound for Pound Ponce. Andres Pound for Pound Ponce. And it's probably the stupidest thing I ever thought. Some people were like, that's so cool. And now that I'm like years went by, I'm like, it's the stupidest thing I've ever probably came up with. Because it was like, oh, the pound for pound, but
How old were you at that time?
I was 20. My first amateur fight, I was 20, I believe.
Okay.
And I'm 29 now, so I've been fighting for a little bit. So that was the first nickname, and then I ended up not sticking because after the fight, I think we were like, I don't think I'm gonna keep that name. I don't think it really I don't know what happened. And then some time went by, and I was just slamming dudes, putting them on their head, and then the other thing that I was good at outside of wrestling, because I wasn't that good of the greatest striker. I was decent. I thought I was better than I really was, but I had really good leg kicks. Like I would kick. I was kicking the calf before kicking the calf was fucking cool. I was kicking dudes because in my head I'm like, bro, I was kicking dudes on the ankle, like the calf. So, and it takes 1 or 2, and you're putting dudes down, especially when dudes didn't know how to you can't really check a calf kick because even if they pick their leg up, you're eating the calf.
Still kicking it.
So, I was kicking dudes and I was picking dudes up. So then one day I don't know if it was my old coach or somebody in the gym was just like, yo, you're just punishing these motherfuckers' legs. Like you're punishing motherfuckers. You keep punishing motherfuckers. And I think somebody just kept saying you're punishing people, and I was like, oh, that's your name. You're the Punisher. And then I'm super into comic books and Marvel, and I read read comic books growing up, and I watch all the Marvel movies. So I'm actually gonna get a whole Marvel sleeve.
Nice.
So I kind of just went along with it. Now it's not really too much based off of the character. I take it more as like a Aztec tribal name and more of that aspect of it. But Yeah, that's kind of like where it originated from years ago. I was just constantly kicking motherfuckers in their leg, and then or I was picking them up and dropping them on their head, and then just when I would get on top of them, I would just like not, because I didn't have jujitsu back then. I just like knew that when I dropped the dude on the ground, I had to try and stop him as fast as I can because he would try to break my arm or choke me. So I would just fucking like if you see a lot of my highlights, like a lot of my ground shit, I'm really, really aggressive on the ground, like just nonstop. So that's a lot of where it came from, is like the style that I kind of had over time. And I think now it's funny enough that for a while, I think my style kind of went away from that. I was a lot of movement, not getting hit, which I do a lot of that now. But like my style now is a lot of pressure, a lot of, taking down, suffocating you, the fucking wet blanket type style. So I think now my name really, really correlates with the style and the type of fighter that I am.
And when they make mistakes, you punish them.
100%.
You gotta get all that stamina you've been working on, all that cardio. You gotta put it on them.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. No, so that's one thing too, man. I've always thought is, watching fighters over the years, and kicks, those leg kicks are the most dangerous weapon in the game. They're the most dangerous weapon in the game, and the guys that throw them are dogs typically. Like you think of like GSP, you think of like just the greater of the fighters over the years that actually threw leg kicks like that. They're just dogs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Look at the second Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor fight. Calf kick, calf kick, calf kick. By the end of the second round, he couldn't put any pressure on it, and boom, Conor gets knocked out. It's just brutal, and there's nowhere for that swelling to go, so it just internalizes and just eats away at your legs.
Oh yeah, and the one thing I'll say is that not all leg kicks are created equal. There's just some guys, like just how some guys just have that like pop in their hands. There's just some dudes that just have that leg, and I would say like honestly like. I have a weird snap to my kicks. Like it's not like, because it doesn't look sometimes that I'm kicking super hard, but like one reason I got away from my leg kicks, I was a huge heavy leg kicker, and then I got away for a couple years because against David Nuzzo, the first fight at World Series, I broke my foot in the first round because I was just nonstop kicking the leg, inside kicking, calf kick, and then I did a weird step, and then I went to kick, and then I caught the top of his shin, and the top of I ended up fracturing the top of my foot, and then I limped back, and most of the fight it looked like I was fighting. And then I would just pull guard, fight, and then pull guard or something. And I would try to kick on it, and then my leg would give out, and then I would pull guard. So, I kind of got away from that for a little while. And now I've gotten like a lot more into my kicks. Before I didn't really set them up. Obviously, that's another important part of setting up your leg kicks. But yeah, dude, some people's leg kicks are just like there's this one guy, John here. He's technically, and he's still an amateur, but like it's not even like because he does kickboxing. So there's not a lot of professional opportunities, but the dude should be fighting for glory or something. But he's young and dumb. But he kicked me one time, man. Like he hit me so fucking hard, and it's the way he does, like with his hip like rotates. Yep. And like it hit me, and I've been dropped by leg kicks, but I've never been like crippled for days after getting dropped by a leg kick. He kicked me one time on my strong leg, and I couldn't walk for 2 days. I was like, for 2 days, I was like fucked up.
Take my strong hand.
My strong foot. I was like,
I love it.
Man. No, but that it really is. It's probably the worst. Like with like them talking about Izzy and Alex. And, like that's why it happened. Like you get into that kickboxing. Like I used to love watching K1 back in the day for that reason, because it's just something different, man. Those when you get that right torque, that right, like you're talking about, that right snap with the hit, you don't even have to be kicking it hard. It's just that snap is what does it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it comes, and then right before you hit, it's like a weird pop, and it's like, and even John tells me, like it's like over a lot of like older Muay Thais over the years. It's like something I think you develop. Like you don't just get that hip rotation. It's a lot of years of Muay Thai. Like you don't go and just stretch that, right? Because it's like a weird motion with the kick. It's just kind of like
your hip is like dislocating, almost like popping out of socket.
It's like how people are like, oh, how do you get those boxer muscles when you're like all ripped right here? It's like you got to fight, you got to box. You don't work those out doing this. It's constantly hitting motherfuckers in the face.
Right, yeah, exactly. Right. Actually, I remember Trevor over at AZ Combat Sports, one of the classes I was doing with them, he was telling me like Muay Thai kicks, when you do it, it's like you don't you keep your whole leg stiff, and you just whip your hips, and you just land it hard. Like you're
Yeah.
looking to decapitate. You're looking to shatter that leg.
Yeah, it's almost like the hip comes before like the body and the chest as you like throw your body. If you're thinking about it in an exaggerated way, you know.
Yeah. So, anything different that you're preparing? Are you preparing in any ways different ahead of this fight than you would have for your past couple of fights?
I wouldn't say different. What I would say is I keep working harder, man. Like, you know, win, lose, it like for me the work doesn't stop. You know, I used to not be about work. I used to just be about the show and the talk, and you know, when I was like the was this shit kind of like was more important to me. You know, right now for me it's about training. It's about the gym. You know, I used to not work out three times a day, 6 hours a day, if not longer. It used to be, you know, 1.5 hour practice, and then like I would try to maybe get myself to do some road work a couple days a week. And then when the weight cut came, it was always every camp was always me trying to get in shape. Now I just stay in shape. I'm lean. I used to walk around at 180, 175 to 185 and cut to 135, 145. You know, so now I walk around 155, no bigger than 160, and I cut to 145. If I'm cutting to 35, I sit around 145, 150. So you know, it's night and day, man. Like you would not recognize the person that I am now if you knew me who I was back then. You know, and everybody that runs into me and sees me that hasn't seen me in a while, they're like, dude, it's like insane to see like where you're at. You know, and despite all that, like I've taken L's. You know, like I haven't drank, I haven't done anything, but I know that my time's coming. I know that if I keep staying the course and I beat enough on this fucking craft, because I know I do have skills, I know I have talent. I know that eventually my time will come. You know, and I'm just gonna keep fucking competing, like I said, until that. And I think that time will be, you know, October 22nd. I think that I'm gonna put on a show. I'm gonna put on a performance, and just really showcase a lot of the skills that I've acquired over the last, you know, 9 years of doing this, you know, sport.
Yeah. Yes, sir, definitely. And hey, we hope to see it too on October 22nd. I saw one of your posts on Instagram too. You've never taken an L in the rough ring, correct? You're still undefeated under Rough Nation.
Yep, undefeated in the rough ring, rough cage. Never taken an L, so I plan on keeping that streak going. You know, I know my opponent's tough. I know the people he's lost to are typically better, you know, good fighters with good records. So same as me, you know, he never really took an easy fight for the most part. I mean, his wins, he does have a couple easy fights, but guys with losing records on there. But for the most part, like the guys he lost to were tough guys, so he's not scared of a challenge. But obviously, I know he sees something in me that he thinks he can get a W off of me, because he's 37 years old, pushing 38, coming back into the sport after 5 or 6 years. So obviously, like it's the people. Obviously, I don't have the best record. My record doesn't reflect really who I am as a fighter. I took a lot of fucking tough fights throughout my career, and obviously, I wasn't in the best state of mind, training and stuff like that. But those are all fucking excuses. It doesn't matter. What matters is now. And what matters is October 22nd. And, you know, I plan on going in there and just fucking, you know, I can't control what he does, but I can control what I do. And that's going to, you know, go in there and show out.
Yeah, and that's one thing, you know, he last fight was in 2019.
That was grappling. It's not even a fight.
Right.
His last fight was in 2017. He did a fight to win
2017.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say
Really?
before that it was
Wow.
2017. So I mean, and the other thing is, man, I don't know. You just can't come across the state lines and hop into Arizona gym and think you're gonna beat one of our Arizona fighters. It's not gonna happen. So I know where the victory's coming.
I'll tell you one thing, man. On his face or on his back, that's the only way he's leaving the cage.
Hey, I love it. I love it.
Exactly.
I love
Keep that
it.
excitement going. I love the energy.
So I mean, I really do, you know, appreciate you coming on here, chopping it up with us. I know we're taking some of your valuable time in the gym away from you, but
It's just one session. One session at like 3, so I think I'll be all right. It's wrestling. It's wrestling class.
Okay. No, but before we let you go, so we always ask the same thing for the kids out there that do watch the show. You know, what would you tell them? You know, growing up in school right now, young kids looking at you, wanting to become a fighter, or just in general, to help them along the way. I always throw that one, man.
Go the other way. No, I'm just joking. No, honestly, If I was, this was like a few years ago, I would probably say that because I feel like fighting back then took a lot from me. But then now, I have such a different mindset on it. I would tell them, go do it. Like if you're gonna do it, be all in. Don't fucking half-ass it. Don't have a life over here and then you're trying to dabble in it. Figure out if it's what the fuck you want to do. Be in the gym for at least 2 weeks to a month. Get your ass beat. Like I tell you, you have to go in and spar, regardless if you're new, green. You have to get hit in the fucking face, in the body. You have to feel like it's not what you want to do, and then you come back still, and that's how you know you're sick. You know what I mean? That's how you know you have that fucking mindset that this is what, okay, I want to do this. And obviously there's like the exercise hobbyist, let me learn to defend myself part of it, and then there's the other side of like, yeah, do I want to be a fighter? And go after it. If you decide that's what the fuck you want to do, I'm not a person that'll sit here and preach mediocrity. Right? I don't accept it for myself. I don't think anybody in this world should accept that for themselves, because at the end of the day, like you have all your entire life to work a 9 to 5, to run a business, but you only have so much time, so much finite time to fight and put your body through the kind of hell that you're going to put yourself. You have to go all in, and that's not with just fighting, man. That's with fucking anything in this world. If you want to be the best pianist, the best fucking artist, whatever it may be, dedicate yourself to that 120%. And then regardless if it's not a lot of money in it in the beginning, if you commit yourself to it and you're good at it and it's a passion that you have, it's inevitable that the fucking whatever the fuck I'm believe in God, and I know that God's gonna bring everything full circle to me. Whether you try to call it the universe or whatever it is that you call it, if you beat on that fucking door long enough, man, it'll open. So don't let people tell you that you have to work a 9 to 5, or that like if you want to be a doctor and help people, or you want to be a lawyer and stuff like that, yeah, go to school obviously. But like if it comes anything like that, don't settle. I had another young fighter the other day that wasn't in here, and I had to call him, and he told me that that I'm started going to school because somebody told me that plumbers make good money. And I asked him, I was like, does this guy fight? And he goes, no. I was like, is this guy a plumber? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, like, of course a fucking plumber's going to tell you, like, bro, I was like, you have dreams, you have goals. You know what a plumber works is they work he's like, they make good money because they work 12 to 15 hours. When you first start as a plumber, you don't make that good of money, unless you're working double over. So I told him, I was like, yes, but it's labor work. And I had to like, just kind of, get on his ass a little bit, but it's like, he was settling for what somebody else, some other basic motherfucker in this world. Not that there's nothing wrong with that, right? But like that person settled. That's what the fuck he does in his life. So he's out here telling a kid that doesn't even understand what this kid's dreams are. This kid's told me that he wants to be a world champion, and he's good. He's talented. So when you see things like that, it's like heartbreaking, because it's like, bro, you're going to school for something that you're never going to probably fucking use, and you're going to hate and be miserable in. He's like, I was like, can you see yourself fixing toilets for the rest of your life? And his face fucking sank, bro. He didn't even think that far ahead. He's 21 years old. So, you can tell I get a little passionate about it. Don't your parents, your grandparents, everybody's going to say, take the safe route. That's everybody in this world is accustomed to taking the fucking safe route. Don't take the safe route. Take the fucking hard route. If that, you know what I mean? Live below your means so you can live your fucking dream. That's a saying right there. You know what I mean? And that's it. That's all I have to say. Go to school, eat your Wheaties, and chase your fucking dreams.
And that was a mic drop.
I love it.
That's inspiration for that ass. But that's real. I mean, you can't let people, especially in the society that we live in, it's easy for young kids, even young adults that are barely sprouting, to get knocked off of it, what their dream is, because of somebody else's focus and narrative. And
it's teachers, it's everybody, man. Teachers, it's parents, it's everybody, because they're so fucked up with everything going on. They're so consumed by complacency, by their weekends out, going to clubs and all this stupid, and I did it, man. I understand it, but I'm very fortunate and blessed that I got out of it and I realized what it was. And I call it breaking the fourth wall of my own reality, just realizing that like most of us won't call ourselves out on our own bullshit. I had to, every time I'm gonna have to sit there and be like, bro, you're lazy. You're not doing this. You're not doing that. And people don't even have the audacity to say that to themselves, because they're just like, oh no, it's self-care. And I'm just like, get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? Get the fuck out of here. It's so chase your fucking dreams. Don't let if anybody ever tells you that your fucking dream or idea or whatever you have is stupid, fuck them. Go after it.
Exactly. That's why one of my favorite quotes is it's from an old French revolutionist, but I prefer liberty with danger than peace with slavery. And with my mindset on it, the peace with slavery is allowing my own vices to get the best of me, allowing those doubts to get the best of me, to never allow myself the chance to push ahead and see what I'm truly capable of doing. That's why that's one of my favorite quotes, hands down.
Love that. Yeah, I'm a big quote guy too, man. So we'll have to share some quotes online.
Definitely,
Hell yeah, man.
definitely.
Hell yeah.
Well, we'll be in attendance October 22nd or 22nd.
Yeah.
We'll be in attendance. Hopefully we get a post-fight interview after the W, and celebrate that victory and keep that streak alive.
Yeah, it'd be a pleasure meeting you guys in person, and 100%, man. Just find me after the dub, and we'll definitely do that interview.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah.
Thank you for coming on.
Hey, man, thank you
Yeah.
guys so
Thank
much.
you, man. Appreciate you, man.
Really appreciate it. I'm gonna go dunk some of these fools on their head now, real quick.
All right, bro. We'll talk
All
to
right,
you
brother.
soon.
All right, guys. Thank you. Have a good one.
All right. Peace, man.
Wonderful, wonderful interview.
Yes, sir. See, that's why I love this sport. That's why I love this sport. Like, you will never see another sport on this entire planet that has this level of passion, this level of dedication, and the obsession. Like, the difference between obsession and talent is the work that you put in. And that's
And
why best sport ever.
I come across some of the most humble people I've ever met in this sport as well. And just the ins and outs and dealing with the different individuals, you just see, like you said, just this sport. One thing that I'll tell you too is just dealing with the different personalities and the people who come across is the sport heals a lot of people, and that's one of the dopest parts about this sport as I dive into it more and talk to more and more individuals. This sport heals a lot of people.
It does. It does. Like, for me personally, the way I describe training MMA, it's therapy for me. Cause, like, a little background for me, I grew up around a lot of abuse, alcohol abuse, drug abuse, watching and seeing like a really lot of fucked up stuff. And to have that outlet with MMA to where you could just let that frustration out, to where you could just all the pent up anger, but just like the pent up frustrations with yourself and your own doubts and the fact that you feel that complacency and you're almost trapped. And to have MMA as an outlet is just so great. And it's like you said, most humblest people that you meet are typically fighters, and it's because they have that therapy.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, and like you said, it brings people together. Like the gym is different, I think, than any other uh, grouping. So like a locker room with a football locker room or a basketball, it's just different because they're beating the fuck out of each other. These same guys that that are your teammates. Unlike football, unlike basketball, where football, yeah, you're beating each other up and stuff, but it's not the same. You're literally putting someone to the point of them wanting to quit something, in the form of training, and you know that's why you come across again some of the most humble individuals ever.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what are the odds of me sending LeBron James on Facebook a friend request and him accepting it? Nada. I send a friend request to Johnny Walker. Boom, within a day he answers it. They're just some of the nicest and best people and most interpersonal people too.
Right, yeah. And again, that's why I fuck with Rough the way I do, because they're providing a place here in Arizona, and they've been rapidly growing and continuing to grow, continuing to get better with the production, the show they're putting on, and then the fighters they're booking. You're seeing the passion in the bookings. Like I said, like the last couple weigh-ins we've been at have been some of the best weigh-ins that Ruff has had. It's because of the passion that they're putting in. These fighters are putting into it now, showing up at Ruff. So I didn't know that fact though about. Glad you brought that up about Ponce and his streak.
Oh yeah, with him being undefeated in the rough cage.
Mhm.
Yeah, I saw his post on Instagram about like, and I'm like, oh shit, yeah, we definitely gonna have to see him in this cage again.
See, but see, that's the type of stuff that helps. You know, and obviously helps the individuals, but it helps the rough too. Gets
Mhm.
that it makes that prestigiousness and that that what's that aura,
Yeah,
that rough, so that those type of things are going to help, in the long run for the state of Arizona, MMA, the sport of MMA in the state of Arizona, and then rough in the long term as well.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I'm excited for the future with Rough. Like this has only been my first year with Rough Nation. What's gonna be in store for next year? How about the
Right,
year after that? They
right,
plan on being in competition. They plan on taking this shit and this whole industry by storm. And I'm here for the ride, boy.
right. No, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. We got some stuff up our sleeve, hopefully. So,
Yeah.
and it's going to be great. We're going to have a couple more interviews leading up to the fight. We got 2 Saturdays left before we
Mhm.
actually show up for fight night.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm fucking excited too. It's literally so my birthday's October 16th, so it's gonna be just a week after my birthday.
Okay, so you're going to have to get fucked up the weekend before and then do a times 2 the following weekend. You just double up on that
Exactly.
one.
Yeah,
Right.
we better see Ponce at the after party. If we don't see him at the after party, then it's like we're gonna find him. We're gonna have to drag him there. We'll have to do shots.
Right. Shots. Yeah, I seen everybody's getting excited though. I even seen Matt Stinger's fighting who's fighting on October 22nd as well. He was
Yeah.
picking his intro song today, having a little poll on Facebook for it. So I was watching that as well.
Yeah, he did Taylor Swift last time, which dude, that had me dying laughing. But the crowd fucking loved it. The crowd loved it, bro.
It was a great walkout song. It was a great walkout song. He had everybody pumped up. It was great. It was great. No, but yeah, so next week, same time, same place, right here. Josh Said What, ASAP Network. Hopefully we will be announcing whom we'll have on, but we shall have someone on next week as well.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Hopefully, too, this time coming, we could get like both the opponents on because that'd be pretty sick. That'd be pretty
Yeah,
sick to do.
yeah, we're working on that. We're working on that.
Mhm.
But before we go, anything else?
Thanks for having me on again, man. It's always a blast to be on. As he said, check out Josh Said What. It's the podcast that'll change the world. Tomorrow, I'm actually doing my first ever live episode with a pro paintball athlete, Pep Esquita. He was actually at the last Rough event. I came across him when I was working security for one of their doors. So I'm excited for that. And you guys definitely stay tuned for that one.
Yeah, no, Josh been putting in work. If you haven't seen Josh Said What yet, please tune in. He has a lot of great interviews on there, not just MMA, but just a wide variety of different things. So definitely a good show, and it will be airing right here on ASAP as well.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Gotta represent, boy. Gotta represent.
And vice versa, man. Thank you for being a wonderful co-host again. This stuff is getting great. I'm enjoying everything, and we're gonna continue to grow. So
Hell yeah.
till next week.
Yeah. Deuces, people.
Alrighty.
Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. 365, we're making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. Sport all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
What did you say?
I said Kobe Bean Bryant has been overrated ever since he passed away.
Nah, I'd say they could lose about 4, but I don't see them losing 5. You know what I mean?
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
This is the Fonx D streaming network.
Shanig, man. Fuck with ASAP Sports Network, man. Tune in, stay logged in, and stay mouthed in. You dig? Yuck mouth. Yada da. Boy!
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
Rebel soul child got a fist ball. I'm a respawn of ancestors, and I'm blessed, They are not him, tell him fess up. I get check stub, hella carefree, nothing scares me, hella reckless. Yeah, I got next up, right? No, we're not the same, cause see when I look in your iris, you likely to talk but not ready to ride. You do better keeping it quiet. My pen is ignited, my soul is enlightened. I like who I am, but I'm biased. The palette is right, and my drip is a fountain. I'm not like these regular